All right, we are back. Dynasty Trades in 5. I'm Clay.
I'm Shane.
And I am ready to talk some of my. Apparently, Shane thinks I do not like Tee Higgins, so we'll be interesting to see what I say about this one. Tee Higgins.
Tee Higgins is who we're going with tonight. So dude's a baller. He's over 1,000 yards. I'm gonna say 6 touchdowns. Obviously, Jamar Chase gets a lot of attention, but Scott, is he a top 10, top 12 dynasty wide receiver for you still?
Yeah, I think the debate is how high do you actually move him? Because I think you can probably agree that he's not in like the upper echelon elite, battling for wide receiver one supremacy range. He's not even to probably the DK Metcalf, AJ Brown level. Like he's probably right in that mix, maybe a tad below. But so you're not going to put him in the top 3, top 4. But the question is, do you put him ahead of some of these other guys that are older? Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill. Like, is he in the mix with those guys? Just considering that you're getting the extra years. And then you have to actually compare, like, what is the replacement value production that you're getting from Tee Higgins versus, Tyreek Hill, even if you're only going to get 3 or 4 more years max from somebody like Tyreek. So if you just look at this year, I mean, he actually started off extremely slow. If everyone remembers, he was hurt early in the year. Really didn't start smashing until actually it was the last time they played the Raiders. After that, he took off. And so his second half of the year, he's been like damn near a top 5 receiver in the NFL. But his overall numbers on the year, I mean, he's still going to end up finishing points per game wise. He's still going to end up finishing right in the mix to be wide receiver 1. I think he's wide receiver 12 or wide receiver 13, just depending on what scoring you look at and what your per game thresholds are. I think if you remove Antonio Brown, who played 7 games, you can say Tee Higgins is a top 12 guy. So whatever your cutoff is. We talk market share all the time. Even though he's battling with Jamar Chase, who, if you look at Jamar Chase's market share this year, it's almost 23% overall volume. Higgins missed a game and is still 20.5%. And that includes the games that he misses. So if you actually take the games that he played and omit the ones he didn't play, his market share is going to be even higher. So pretty good for, a non-best receiver on your team, right? I think that's what people question is like, well, he's not the best guy on his team, but how high can you move like a secondary receiver? So I think it's just a debate. How do you navigate that second tier of older receivers plus the really young guys?
Higgins is going to be definitely a back end top 12 guy. I don't think he'll ever be the wide receiver 1. And I don't think that matters if he's tied to Jamar Chase or not. I just think, that's not in his range of outcomes. I think Jamar Chase actually kind of helps him. I mean, they complement each other. There's really not much you can do as far as defense when you have to face those two. And then Tyler Boyd as the third option of the offense.
It's a good problem to have. Yeah.
Just ridiculous. It will be interesting to see what happens if Higgins or Boyd move on. And Higgins has to carry the load himself. He did a decent job of it. I don't want to say himself, but he did a decent job in the de facto 1 role in 2020, I think. But I think he's just him and Chase just complement each other so well. I kind of hope they never leave each other. And I hope the Bengals defense gets really bad because I just want to see Joe Burrow throw the ball 45 times a game because I know 30 of those passes are going to go to those two. Whoever the third option will probably see a 15 to 18% target share. And then I don't care about anyone else on the roster.
So let's talk about how you would pivot from T to like CD Lamb or tier down from CD Lamb to T.
Well, so let me tell you this, okay? Because I saw it on the Twitters and we've been talking about it in our groups. I will say you're not going to be moving CD Lamb and a second for Tee Higgins in a first. Something like that's probably not going to happen if you play in a league with experienced players.
It's the gold standard. Yeah. That's the gold standard. Any second plus CD Lamb for Tee Higgins and a 23 first. I don't care if it's a 23 second, the 201, the 204, it doesn't matter. Being able to get that 23 first is such a win over that second, whatever it is.
Yep. Would you do the same move if it were Justin Jefferson? Insert his name. Same thing.
I think that's a Higgins plus a first for Jefferson. I think that's kind of where you're at. But I don't hate. I was going to suggest, Because one thing we haven't seen before, we've seen Lamb with Cooper, we've seen Godwin with Evans. We haven't seen two alpha strict outside receivers that you have to double cover to stop that side of the field. That's the unique thing about the Bengals that you haven't seen from some of these other elite tandems. Usually you've seen like an elite outside receiver with a dominant guy that runs in the slot a lot. And you haven't seen these guys have to win in the slot. So they can play. I mean, Chase can play in the slot, but he doesn't have to. You can line him up on either side of the field and basically say, you double that guy, the other guy, one-on-one, that's where we're going to throw the ball. So I don't hate, given you're tied to Burrow, you're tied to the same offense. A lot of the same principles that are going to apply to Higgins are going to apply to Chase and vice versa. I don't hate the chase for Higgins in a first.
Right.
Just because you're kind of pivoting off of the same team. You know, if that team goes down in flames, you're going to be done with either one. You might as well take the one. You know what I mean? I think you can win with that almost better than you can with Jefferson. So I like that idea.
Yeah, one thing that I brought up too in the Patreon chats. By the way, everybody should join Dynasty Trades HQ and Dynasty and Chill Patreons. Just saying. But no, I think it would be tough to get, T plus a first if you're giving away CD, but instead trying to upgrade at a different position. So you give up, CD and let's say, Dawson Knox, and you get Tee Higgins and Mark Andrews. Or maybe you can parlay in Pitts, so upgrading at a different position because you're not going to get a first on top of T for CD.
You might want to not throw in, but also try to get those running backs off your roster because they're evil human beings and they're going to get injured and screw you over. So I'd look to make moves like that too. I'd be perfectly content if I could get rid of Swift for Higgins plus, which I've also tried. Or even Najee Harris and Higgins super plus, since Najee Harris is a top 3 running back in Dynasty, even though some clowns may disagree.
But if you're really thinking process here, you may get stuck. I mean, I talked about this on the last DNC pod, was basically you may get stuck with some of these really late firsts this year, the 110, 111. So, I mean, I think you'd probably be able to shoot for more, but if you can turn CD Lamb in the 111 into a Tee Higgins and a team that you kind of look at the team and you're like, what I usually do is I look at the team's quarterbacks, right? And if I see a quarterback room of like Jimmy Garoppolo and Matt Ryan, but yet they made the playoffs, I'm sitting there like, yeah, you know what? I'm willing to bet on this team's 2023 first, like not being a playoff first, just because.
Sure.
Look at their quarterbacks. Now if they have Mahomes and Kyler Murray, then I'm like, okay, given these guys more talent, I'm probably going to be looking at a playoff pick. But if I feel at all like it's a suspect team, like I'm willing to deal the 110 for a 23 first and a Higgins for Lamb swap, and maybe ask for a second on top. But I think that's a savvy move too.
So would you take Tee Higgins or the 2022 105 right now?
Higgins.
2022 105. Man, I'm getting to the part of the season where I'm getting horny for picks. 105 or earlier is probably going to be the picks.
I think you see the wide receiver, no matter what the format, unless it's a heavy point per carry, I think you're going to see the wide receiver 1 go at the 101. I think that's going to be the juice for this year. If you want the wide receiver 1, Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, whoever you think it's going to be, you're going to need a top 2 or 3 pick to secure that player. I know we may disagree with the process. I'm sure we'll talk more rookies and stuff going forward, but like you're going to see a lot of drafts where people are going to be like, I'm not going to take a quarterback that their ceiling is, Zach Wilson. Why would I draft that guy? Just give me the wide receiver 1. I'll worry about it later. So if I can turn that same pick into a receiver that's already produced multiple top 24 seasons and one top 12 season, that's 23. Why wouldn't I do that? So, yeah, I think any top 2 pick I'd trade for Higgins, honestly. Maybe not the 101 just because there's so much value and flexibility in it, but man, 102, 103, that's fair.
Yeah.